Welcome to the Candid Couch, a space where we have honest and enlightening conversations. I want to engage with you. I want to inform, entertain, and inspire you. I'm a very firm believer that there's a lot more to life than we perceive. I believe that we're all connected and we all have a divine destiny just waiting for us. But first, we must embrace the light. My name is Ayiba, and I'm your host. Welcome back, man. It's so good to have you here with us again today.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you came. But today we're talking about mental health as well. So how can we preserve mental health? That's what we're going to be addressing today. So really, let's just dive right in. How can we preserve our mental health?
Okay, so let's go back to our last discussion
Right.
where we talked about mental health having to be at the seat of your emotion, your psychological and social well-being.
Yeah.
And then we talked about the mental aspect again being your will, your emotion, your memory, your imagination, and all the aspects of life that affect the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. Have that at the back of your mind as we talk. The way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave.
Okay.
Yeah. So I already talked about two things last week. Number one, self-reflection. Number two, being accountable to your support system. So coming straight to your question, one of the things that will determine your journey into taking care of your mental health is you taking a decision.
Okay.
I can't be more interested in your mental health than you. So some people might say, okay, let me go for counseling. Okay, let me go for this. But it has to be self-led. Mm-hmm. It has to be self-motivated. So, and for you to want to take care of your mental health, the first thing that must happen is that you must find a way to convince yourself that you are enough. Yes. You are good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what has happened in this life. Let's go back to original intent of the creator. It doesn't matter your creed. It doesn't matter what you believe. Mm-hmm. You must come to terms with the fact that you are enough. In fact, say that to yourself. I'm enough. In fact, I'm more than enough.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think that way, you wouldn't pay attention to the way you think, the way you feel, the way you behave. You won't pay attention to when somebody is abusing you. You won't be able to set boundaries. Okay. You won't even be able to forgive yourself when you err or do something wrong. So first and foremost, the first step of taking care of your mental health is for you to consider yourself as worthy. And you must decide to take care of your mental health.
Okay, but sorry, how do I identify, right now, how do I know if I'm mentally ill without having to go to the...
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. So first of all, what's your sleep pattern like? How much sleep do you get at night?
That's a very good one because I remember when I was depressed, I was sleeping a lot. Okay. And I was watching a lot of TV. So sometimes we think it's all this, PTSD, all this serious ones. But sometimes even when you're doing some activities for too long, you're trying to escape from something. You're trying to escape from your life. So yeah.
So for some other people, it becomes the opposite. It becomes insomnia. They're not able to sleep.
Yeah.
Now, then how irritable are you on things that are normal? When you start to see that you're no longer able to cope with normal life events, NEPA take light, it's problem. There's traffic on the road, it's problem. So you now start getting irritable. Even people around you notice that something is wrong.
Almost everybody in Nigeria has it.
So that is you thinking about your mental well-being. Okay. When you start recognizing that I'm getting less sleep at night, or I'm oversleeping, I'm no longer excited about the things that I would have been excited ordinarily. Yeah. I no longer enjoy the company of people. I now begin to feel very small about myself. Everything is always about me. There's always somebody who is doing something wrong to me.
See yourself like a victim.
When you begin to have those things and they happen continuously, they affect the way you think, they affect the way you feel, and they will definitely affect the way you behave. When you continue to see that continuously, and probably you are also beginning to get feedback, maybe from your office, from your church, from people that live with you, you need to begin to seek for help.
Okay.
It's not only when they say you have PTSD or when you have one big name, because these things affect the way, even it also once it affects the way you think, it will affect the way you feel, it will affect the way you behave. And for people who are Christians, it is by their fruits that they shall be known. That's your behavior. Therefore, so it now messes up the whole stuff. So again, let's go back to the question that you asked. How do you take care of your mental health? Like I said, you will first of all have to take a decision that I need to take care of my mental health. 2, you need to believe that you are enough. You are worthy. You deserve, look at the fundamental human rights, the right to self-dignity.
It starts there first.
So it starts from you taking a lead to say, I want to take a step back to look at my life, to look at because every time when things happen to us, we always want to look at how somebody else contributed to it. But when you step back to think about, what could I have done better? How did I contribute to this?
And what are some things you can do? Because for me, I actually journal. So I think journaling is one
we're going to get there. Okay. So again, another thing about preserving your mental health, I don't want to be theoretical. See this issue of bitterness. There is no way you can be in this world and people will not hurt you. You too, they hurt somebody.
Of course.
So
it's life.
Forgiveness and bitterness. C.S. Lewis said, forgiveness is easy to talk about until you have something to forgive. Let me tell you, it is possible. And the reason people don't want to talk about forgiveness is because they don't want people to take advantage of them. And they feel that if I forgive somebody, I've let down my guard. And people also think that when you forgive, they don't know how mercy and justice work together.
They feel like forgive, you have to bring them back.
And apart from that, they also feel that if I forgive somebody, it means that that person will not pay for what that person has done.
Yeah.
But that's why there is law. Yeah. The law will take care of the offender. People will be held accountable for their behavior. There are consequences. There are natural consequences of your behavior. But you, to preserve yourself, ensure that the person that has hurt you, mark my words, the person that has hurt you, that means is a single incident, you forgive that person. But if you are in a space with somebody that continuously hurts you, there are 2 things you have to do. Is either you put a boundary. I didn't say a wall. I'm coming to the wall. Is either you put a boundary or you manage your access, the access you give that person to your life. For instance, if it is your child that is constantly hurting you, are you going to kill the child? But you can decide that, you see this child, it's God that gave you to me, and I will decide how the things you do affect me. If you don't take that decision, you won't even be able to help that child. If it has to do with spouse.
But what if it's so toxic where you feel I can't even be around in this same space with this person?
So that's why I'm breaking it down now. If it has to do with a child, that's why we have child counselors. That's why we have people who are trained. Then you seek for help, because you're not going to throw away your child. I don't want to be talking theoretical things. I want to come back to you and I. If it has to do with your spouse, it gets to a point where you may have to remove yourself physically from that environment before you will do something that even the law will now take you into custody. So you will also have to put, like I said, you have to put boundaries. You have to truncate the access that person has to your environment or to your space. And then, most importantly, you should know when to exit for your safety. If you want to preserve your mental health and you come into an environment that is hostile, maybe that's where you work.
Exactly.
And you still need the job. You have to now create an atmosphere. You create an atmosphere in your mind, and you create an atmosphere as much as light within your power. Most of us don't have single offices, but you can play music. You can wear an earphone and change the environment within your own cubicle, while the external environment, you don't have control over it. So you can change your environment while you are in a hostile environment.
Yeah.
And another critical point about taking care of your mental health, always draw that circle. When anything happens, ask yourself, which one is within my control? Which one can I not control? If you don't do that, you're going to be running around in circle, trying to do things, manage things that you don't have control over it. So once you isolate what you are able to control, the one that you're not able to control, either you pack them or you hand them over to the superior being. Yes, because there's nothing you can do about those things.
There's no point even thinking about it.
So you can think about it. In thinking about it, you now tell yourself that this one, I can't do anything about it. The one that I can do something, you don't dwell on it. The one I can do something about, then I begin to look at the alternatives and the options that exist. Remember, the scripture says, in every temptation, he will give you a way of escape. When you are not looking for that way of escape, you will be holding yourself accountable for the things that are not within your control. Look for that way of escape and take it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, why do you think we don't talk about mental health?
Okay. Before we go into that question, another thing I want to talk about mental health, preserving your mental health, is learn to be flexible. I had to learn the hard way. My siblings will say, the planner has been planned. I can plan, and when I plan, I don't have space, no wiggle room. So I plan my day, I plan my week. In fact, in those days before my son's accident, if you ask me what I'm going to do in June, we're in February, I don't really write them out.
Are you serious?
I tell you.
Really?
I day everything. These days, now only one day at a time. Only one day at a time.
You can only live in the moment.
Exactly. So you have to have, even if you're a corporate organization, even a family, if you're as a human being, make sure you introduce some level of flexibility. Why? It's still because we're not in control of everything, just in case anything happens, so that you're not so bound by this plan that didn't work. Like I told you, I was on my way to do my PhD because I've always known that at least God has gifted me with the gift of teaching. But I'm teaching in a different way now, not with a PhD, but I'm content with what I'm doing right now. Now, why people don't talk about mental health issues? First of all, mental health issues are very personal things. For me to talk about mental health, I have to be vulnerable. I have to be authentic. I have to let go of some things about me. And many people are not in that place yet. Why? Because people are very sensitive to being judged. We live in a society that judges you before they even hear your story. So if you want to survive in this life, not just survive, to thrive, I like to use the word thrive. You must get to a point where you have to develop a thick skin to what people say.
Of course, definitely.
But a lot of people don't talk about the challenges they are going through. Even just simply, I'm worried about this. Somebody will tell you, haven't you prayed? You should not be worried. No, people don't want to be judged.
But why is it that when we have issues with our body, we run to the doctor?
Because when you're talking to a doctor, you don't feel that the doctor is going to judge you. You don't feel that, after all, even the doctor too will get malaria.
Yeah,
so in our mind, and
we think that one can kill us.
And you can't and you can't go to your friend and say, I'm having malaria. But you have to go to a doctor. So it's no longer personal. But when you're talking about your emotion, when you're talking about the things you're thinking in your mind, intimate. It becomes so people don't want to talk about that. Then again, people also don't want to talk about it because of it has to do with society. And this society includes family, includes church, includes the wider society, includes where you work, stigma.
Exactly.
So you took out, you were feeling somehow, and then you went and drank. And then I'm coming to tell you that I drank. Do you know what it takes for me to put that confidence in you? And a lot of people also, people have confided in them and they've gossiped about them.
yeah.
And so I
withdraw.
know somebody who died of cancer. She died because the first time she confided in somebody, they gossiped about her.
Wow.
So when she really needed help and people were asking her what's wrong, she was diminishing. She said she was watching her weight.
Oh, wow.
She
Because of
has
shame.
gone.
She didn't want.
She has gone. So I tell
She didn't
people,
seek help.
but it was too late. I tell people, I'd rather you gossip about me and I'm alive than for me to go because of because of judgment.
Because of
and so
judgment.
one of the messages I also try to
Still
pass
back
across.
to the thick skin.
Yes, one of the messages I try to pass across is when you hear something about somebody. So let's go to the social media. When a news breaks out, you mustn't make a comment.
Of course.
You must not make a comment.
Especially if you're not even well informed.
You can never even be well informed because my sister tells me there are 3 sides to a story. So when you hear something about somebody, ask yourself, what if it were me that this story is about?
Yeah, how would I feel?
So let's reduce the level of judgment that we place on people.
Yes.
I
think social media gives people a voice, even people that typically don't have a voice.
Exactly.
They just spew out that negativity.
And some people too, I always tell people, I saw a comment somebody left under, and the comment I made was that this comment that you have made speaks more about you than this person.
Exactly.
So the things you write are also an expression of who you are. Yeah. So let's have some compassion when we hear something that is not positive about somebody before we and it's because of this stigma. That's why people don't want to talk about. People have also been hurt repeatedly and they don't want to talk about it. Like again, I said, because it's a personal thing. Secondly, people don't want to be judged. Thirdly, people have been hurt, so they rather keep the stuff. And the more you keep in trauma, the heavier it becomes, and then it begins to, they call it catastrophicize. It begins to become bigger than it is. Meanwhile, your neighbor is going through the same thing, but because you have now started to internalize, it continues to grow big. I want to go back to the issue of forgiveness. I didn't finish on that. You see, forgiveness and bitterness. Do you know that some of the physical ailments that people are going through today has to do with the state of their mind? Now, the person who has been hurt and chooses to forgive, you are actually doing yourself a favor.
Yeah.
There's an evil proverb that says that when you're holding somebody on the ground, you're also on the ground. So
when you let go,
when you let go, you are actually helping yourself, not that person. And that person that hurt you, the natural consequences of what that person will do will still get to that person.
Yeah.
And if the person has broken the law, the person will face the law.
Yeah, there's
but
something
you
that they
need
say,
to.
it's like taking poison.
Yeah.
And
for another person,
but meanwhile you're the
killing
one,
yourself.
Yes.
So I always talk about forgiveness because it's a journey that I've had to walk for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I started learning to forgive, my life changed totally. It's important. Anybody who is listening to me, check in your life. One of the key things that you can do to start the journey of mental health is to forgive.
All right. So do you have any words of encouragement for anyone just taking care of any special needs, patients?
Okay, you're coming into my space. I always think about people who are going through, it's called vicarious trauma or secondary trauma. Trauma that is not, you are not the person. So for instance, you're taking care of a sick husband, a husband that has been ill for a long time, or you're taking care of a child that is dependent on you, or you have a mother who is living with you, who you have to attend to every day before you go to work.
Yes.
And you even carry the person to work as you're going to work. I always say, the fact that you're able to do that whether you're paid to do it or you're not paid to do it in most cases, you are already a fantastic person. You are already a divine hand in somebody's life. So I even want those people to be encouraged.
Very
What
selfless.
you are doing, it's only divinity that can actually reward you, because you can't pay somebody to do that. That's one. Two, you must find a way to depressurize. For me,
Like retail therapy, like you
yes,
said
and
last week.
I like to take long walks. I can actually walk for 2 hours. Just take a walk. I'm trying to give
your mind
give
can-
things that you don't have to spend money on. Just take a walk. Just take a walk. I learned how to journal during my experience. So
Journaling
my
is so
phone
powerful.
is always with me. Whoever created Samsung Notes, God bless the person. Because I don't want to be transcribing. So whenever anything comes to my mind, I try to write how I'm feeling in the moment. And I must give kudos to David in the Bible. When you read the book of Psalms, you can actually trace how many times David went through PTSD, depression, suicidal ideation.
Willing,
he went
different
through all those
emotions,
things.
up
In
and
one
down,
psalm,
up and
he
down.
can actually go up, come down. And then I also think about Joseph, how he would have felt during those things. So I use those things to encourage myself. And
But
finally,
one thing David always does is no matter how he goes up and he always comes back to
fantastic. Yes.
what God says.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, another thing that I always do, I don't joke with music. I don't know how to dance.
Music is very powerful.
I don't know how to dance, but I don't joke with music.
It's very, very powerful.
Yes,
You can switch
these
your mood.
things, they don't cost money because you already have them with you.
Of course. Another thing I do is gratitude journaling. I don't know if you know it. So
I
every
do
day
that
you talk
too.
about things you're grateful
Yes,
for. There are some days you don't have much, but I just
You'll
like
find out.
I'm thankful for my body, for my legs.
The days you don't find anything to be grateful for, think about abundance, the air you're breathing,
Exactly.
the sky, the
Yes.
seas, and things like that. Yes.
All right. So thank you so much, Ma, for coming. I mean, thank you for gracing us with your presence. It's been, I've learned so much,
It's a
from
pleasure.
everything you've said. And I know that the viewers at home have learned a lot as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, you guys, that's all we have for today. So stay tuned for our next episode. It's going to be very interesting. You don't want to miss this. And remember, your destiny is in your imagination.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.